Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Public Authority for Meteorology expects the continuation of rainfall in the governorates of North Sultanate. Thousands of migrants from Syria reach Austria, and Cameron says Britain will do more to help refugees. Arab-led coalition warplanes struck government buildings controlled by Houthi fighters in the Yemeni capital Sana'a. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. Scattered rains continue to fall on some wilayas of the northern governorates of the Sultanate. The Public Authority for Meteorology expected the continuation of rainfall during the upcoming 2 days. Heavy rains as a result of the low depression last night caused flooding of main roads with water in the governorate of Muscat. The overflowing wadis entered residential areas and swept away a number of vehicles. It was not the first time that rocks fell on Boshar Amrat Road during the rainfall, causing the disruption in traffic movement. The new Amrat flyover was also overwhelmed with water, whether due to engineering reasons or heavy rains which architects did not take into account. The Public Authority for Civil Defense and Ambulance, PACDA, announced this morning that it rescued a person after being trapped in his vehicle in Qurum area in the governorate of Muscat. Meanwhile, the authorities' account on Twitter stressed the continuation of the search efforts of National Search and Rescue Team for a lost person in Al-Huqain Wadi in the Wilaya of Rostaq. He was along with 4 persons who were recovered yesterday after the wadi swept away their vehicle. PACDA also published on its account pictures of evacuation operation of some patients from Nahda Hospital last night as a precautionary measure. Despite damages caused by the low depression on some roads, the overflowing wadis represented a beautiful natural scene in some wilayas. In the Wilaya of Rostaq, the rainwater formed waterfalls in Al-Huqain Wadi that attracted many visitors from inside and outside the Wilaya. Along with date palm trees, plantations, the waterfalls form an attractive tourist destination during these days. The Niyaba of Al-Jabal Al-Akhbar witnessed moderate to heavy rains accompanied with hailstones. The mountains' waterfalls overflow to low areas towards the wilayas of Nizwa, Izki and the Niyaba of Birkat Al-Moz. The Wilaya of Awabi in the governorate of South Batna recorded the highest rainfall rate as per rainfall measurement stations of the Ministry of Regional Municipalities and Water Resources. The rainfall quantities in the Wilaya of Awabi amounted to 70 millimeters, followed by the Wilaya of Amrat with 67 millimeters. The Wilaya of Liwa recorded a rainfall rate amounted to 60 millimeters. Still to come in our news bulletin, a recent proposal to scrap part of the tram network in Hong Kong has renewed fears that this unique piece of heritage is under threat. Welcome back. Austria and Germany threw open their borders to thousands of exhausted migrants today, bussed to the Hungarian border by a right-wing government that had tried to stop them but was overwhelmed by the sheer numbers reaching Europe's frontiers. Left to walk the last yards into Austria, rain-soaked migrants, many of them refugees from Syria's civil war, were whisked by train and shuttle bus to Vienna and on to Germany. German police said the first 450 of up to 10,000 migrants expected today had arrived on a special train in Munich from Austria. Police in Austria said many thousands would pass through during the day, highlighting the continent's worst refugee crisis since the Yugoslav wars of the 1990s. Hungary's government deployed over 100 buses overnight to take thousands of migrants to the Austrian border. Austria said it had agreed with Germany that it would allow the migrants access, waiving asylum rules that require them to register in the first EU state they reach. Arriving at the Vienna railway station today, migrants were met by announcements from Germany-bound trains in Arabic as well as German. British Prime Minister David Cameron sought to defend his country from accusations it was doing much less than other European countries to help refugees. The Council of Europe's Commissioner for Human Rights has criticized Cameron for this position that the UK should not provide protection to more refugees from the Middle East. Cameron said Britain will do more, adding numbers are under review.
Well, look, anyone who saw those pictures overnight couldn't help but be moved. And as a father, I feel deeply moved by the sight of that young boy on a beach in Turkey. And look, Britain is a moral nation, and we will fulfil our moral responsibilities. That's why I sent the Royal Navy to the Mediterranean. That saved thousands of lives. That's why Britain meets our commitment of 0.7% of our economy spent on aid, much of which goes to North Africa, goes to the Middle East to help those countries. That is why Britain is the second biggest bilateral donor in the world to those Syrian refugee camps. And that is why, yes, we are taking thousands of Syrian refugees, and we'll continue to do that. And as I said yesterday, we keep that under review. But as I also said yesterday, there isn't a solution to this problem that's simply about taking people. We need a comprehensive solution, a new government in Libya. We need to deal with the problems in Syria. I would say the people responsible for these terrible scenes we see, the people most responsible.
Arab-led coalition warplanes struck government buildings controlled by Houthi fighters in the Yemeni capital Sana'a overnight, and army units loyal to former President Ali Abdullah Saleh. This came after at least 50 coalition soldiers were killed on Friday. Among the targets, Ministry of Defense building in Sana'a, which was very heavily damaged. Strikes also hit the command of the Special Security Forces and camps of Saleh, as well as the presidential complex. At least 50 soldiers from the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain were killed in Yemen on Friday in the deadliest attack on Gulf Arab troops in the Saudi-led military campaign against Houthi forces. Saudi Arabia is satisfied with U.S. President Barack Obama's assurance about Iran, the nuclear deal, and believes the agreement will contribute to security and stability in the Middle East, the foreign minister said on Friday. Foreign Minister Adel Al-Jubeir said Saudi Arabia hopes Iranians will use any additional income from the lifting of sanctions to fund domestic development rather than engage in nefarious activities. This came after a meeting between Obama and Saudi King Salman in Washington. He added that the two leaders discussed the threat from Daesh group in Iraq and Syria and the potential situation in those countries. The UN Special Representative for Libya, Bernardino Leon, said talks aimed at uniting Libya's two warring governments are entering the final stretch, and there is hope for signing a deal on September 20th. Leon met with negotiators from Libya's General National Congress, GNC, for 5 hours on Friday and said he expected to hold a new round of talks next Wednesday, which diplomats said would be held in Skhirat in Morocco. The target date for an agreement has been repeatedly pushed back, and Leon said the most difficult work was still ahead, with the two sides yet to tackle the question of who would be in the government and state council. A controversial new proposal to take Hong Kong's beloved trams off the streets has sparked a wave of anger from residents who fear losing track of the city's past. More details in the following report.
Could the bell be tolling for Hong Kong's historic tram network? A consultation has proposed removing the tramway in part of the city in order to ease congestion.
The tram has many years of history. It is Hong Kong's special feature. It is unfair to say that it's old and blocks traffic.
It's our culture. I don't think it's a hindrance as a professional driver. It runs on its own tracks.
Trams have been rolling up and down Hong Kong Island for more than 100 years. Today the competition for passengers is fierce, with both the bus network and the city's sleek subway offering faster journey times. And for the consultation's author, the time of the tram is coming to an end.
When the MTR is complete, then the tramway should be removed because we cannot afford overlapping of service.
Usage may be lower than during its heyday, but some 200,000 people still use the service daily. A monthly pass costs just $25 US. Meanwhile, the company's French director feels the cause of Hong Kong's congestion problem lies elsewhere.
The tramway is not responsible for traffic jams. The tramway is a victim of Hong Kong's tailbacks. Everyone knows that the reason for the jams is the 50% increase in the number of vehicles over the past 10 years.
Hong Kong's iconic trams could soon be at a crossroads and may need to adapt to avoid being consigned to history.
Now for the general weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies will prevail over the most of the governorates of the sultanates, with chances of scattered rain with various intensities, occasionally thunderous, accompanied by active winds and hailstones over the governorates of Muscat, North and South Batina, Musandam, Buraymi, Zahira and the Hajar Mountains and the nearby areas. It is also expected rains over parts of the governorate of Dhofar. Winds will be southeasterly light moderate along the coasts of most of the governorates, while it will be northeasterly light to moderate along the coastal areas of the Sea of Oman. Seas will be moderate to rough with a maximum wave height of 2.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Public Authority for Meteorology expects the continuation of rainfall in the governorates of North Sultanate. Thousands of migrants from Syria reach Austria, and Cameron says Britain will do more to help refugees. Arab-led coalition warplanes struck government buildings controlled by Houthi fighters in the Yemeni capital Sana'a. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.